Hello, Michelle Niemeyer. Welcome to the Aging Fiercely podcast. I am really excited to have you here. I think we're going to talk about a lot of amazing stuff that can be really helpful and practical for a lot of our listeners out there. I wanted to start talking to you on the art of bending time. And something you said in our pre-call really stuck with me. It's you ask people, how many times have you said, I'm too busy this week? And why, I want to understand, why is that question so revealing to you?
I see it as a sign of someone who has lost touch with what really matters to them.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because a lot of times when we get overextended, it's because we're saying yes to things that aren't relevant or aren't the important things in our lives.
Okay.
So we've created a situation all around us where we have other people expecting things of us and expectations at work about things that we've agreed to do or be part of, that we get to the point where we're so involved in all those things
Hmm.
that we don't have time when our friend calls and wants to see us on Friday night, or when our family has a gathering over the weekend for an aunt's birthday, or whatever that thing is that you'd like to be there, you want to be there, and you
Hmm.
care about that. But you reach a point where you've said, so busy, I'm too busy so many times
Yeah.
to things that you care about that it comes out automatically. And when it starts coming out automatically and you're saying it to yourself and you're saying it to the people you love a lot,
Hmm.
it's a really good sign that you're either burned out or you're in a place where you're going to be burned out pretty darn quick,
Yeah.
because you've stopped. You don't need to say I'm too busy to someone if it's something that isn't relevant to what matters for you. You can tell that person, I've got plans with my family this weekend, or I
Right.
have XYZ that's, like so important. But when you start saying I'm too busy, it's sort of like language of overwhelm and language of I don't feel comfortable explaining to somebody something that matters to me because I'm so used to not standing up for myself.
Right. Right. Yeah, it definitely goes deeper into how you perceive yourself and what you
Yes.
value, or your ability to quickly override the things that you
Yes,
value
exactly.
because you
So
feel like,
you're overriding what matters to you, or you're unwilling to say to somebody that something matters to you because you feel so uncomfortable raising that.
hmm.
It's my aunt's birthday on Sunday. I'm really sorry I can't be there for this office event,
Right. Right.
right? And so, when you start just throwing up this concept of busyness
Hmm.
everywhere, it's like a shield you're using to protect yourself from having to say the truth about your values.
Yeah, I could see that. And when you point that out, let's say to a client that you're working with, do they see that right away? Or is there a bit of, oh, no, I don't think that's the case, do they kind of give you a little, is there like a little bit of resistance there to
I don't tell
actually,
them that.
you know?
Generally, I don't tell somebody, listen, like you're delusional, or you're not honoring yourself, and that's why you have to say you're too busy, when what you really could be saying is, it's, my anniversary, or it's my whatever it is that matters.
Right. Yeah, I think it's also coming to terms with, you know, I think we fear a lot of disappointment. Like we don't want to disappoint people in our
Right.
lives. And I think that's a lot of the times too why we just keep going and doing the things that necessarily don't resonate with us. But we don't want to deal with the alternative side, which is feeling like we're letting other people down in our lives or we're disappointing them. And
Exactly.
it's hard to deal with that aspect of
And
it.
and it's all hard, and I like to tell people, I think this is really important. The being here now concept, that concept of presence, which is big in yoga and in meditation, it's also really important to productivity and the concept of bending time.
Mm-hmm.
So the concept of bending time has to do with having the best possible life you can have that's the most congruent with who you are and what matters to you, so that you're spending all of your time in as much of it as you can in ways that are maximally impactful toward who you are becoming, who you want to be, what matters most in your life.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, and that includes, for instance, so let's say you don't show up at that thing that you were expected to be at work because it's date night. But the entire date night you're on your phone looking for the texts, or your coworkers are pinging in about silly things that are happening or whatever. And you now are experiencing a date night where your person feels detached from you,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
And how beneficial is that couple hours to your relationship when what you're demonstrating is, I'm not here with you right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm there with those people in my
Right.
head, even though I'm physically present at the table sitting with you.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who deal with split energy where they're at one place but they're not there. Like how many
Right.
times are you
And
like talking to a friend and they'll pick up their phone and they'll start like responding to a text as you're speaking to them and you're like, what's going on here?
I was just with a friend yesterday at lunch, and both of us had taken time out of our schedules to make a point of having this lunch.
Hmm.
And the phone became a real thing, and I finally was like, put it down.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I mean,
can't. I'm here, like I'm here, and I made an effort to get here, and I took
yeah.
the time to be here, and I'm not here so that I can sit here and wait for the texting to stop.
Yeah.
And, it's disrespectful to the person that you're with.
Right, because you're not fully there. You're not present.
Exactly. And it's not allowing the connection that would make that moment, whether it's, maybe it's 15 minutes, but make that 15 minutes meaningful and productive. And, as opposed to someone has spent time to get to this event, whatever it is that you've coordinated, and now you're not there.
Right. Yeah. You're
And if
there,
you
but you're
can't be
not
there
there.
and you know that ahead of time, then you could say so,
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So is
you
that
know.
kind of the idea behind the art of bending time?
Yes. So the general idea behind the art of bending time is that there are things we can do that make us able to maximize, and I like to liken it this way. Imagine like time as we generally are taught to think of it as like a ruler, right?
Hmm.
It's like a line, and
Hmm.
it's linear. It has minutes and it has hours and it has weeks and it has months and years, but it's a linear construct.
Hmm.
But we all know that within that amount of time, everybody doesn't get the same amount done. Everybody doesn't have the same quality of life, so to speak. Some people struggle just to get up in the morning and get to work and make enough money to pay their bills. And other people are able to take that time and build a beautiful life and have a depth of connections in their
Yeah.
community and in their family, and build a business or a team or a successful career in some way, or have impact in a way that matters to them. So what's the difference? If it's just a line, everybody should be the same.
Right.
So that's what the art of bending time is about, is how do you make that difference? And how do you take your use of that line and make it into a container, and make it into a container that's flexible so it can get bigger and it
Mm.
can
Yes.
expand, and it can expand more
Yes.
and have the most impact, the most, joy, the most fun,
Right.
the most success that you can fit into it. So I recommend, there are a number of things that people do, but the first part of it is to identify the sparks that light them up.
Mm. Yes.
So I've never done this before. This is something that you get to share because you and I, we share that aging thing that we talked about. This is funny. When we talked before this podcast, I have to share this to your audience.
Mm-hmm.
I shared with Anne Marie that when I was 50, I was 49 years old and I was approaching 50. I created a Facebook page called Aging Defiantly. So when
Love
I
it. You're
saw
like,
Aging Fiercely, I was
go
like,
there.
damn, this girl's my soul sister.
That's right.
Yeah, so anyway, but I want to share this with you because I thought of it right before we started and it's just too good to pass up. So
Mm-hmm.
I am writing a book and I just wrote this piece of the book which talks about what I'm going to go into next, which is knowing and like connecting with the sparks that light us up.
Yeah.
So I'm reading now,
Okay.
okay? We all arrive on this earth with a self, a soul, whatever you want to call it, that is unique and special. We can see that as personalities emerge in infants and as children are inexplicably drawn toward various activities and interests. That special part of us comes with innate strengths and desires. It is the essence of who we are at our core and influences how we interact with the world. Imagine a moment of peace and relaxation in a public garden. In the same moment, one person may be drawn to the smell of a rose, while another is transfixed by the activity of a bee moving from blossom to blossom gathering pollen. Another focused on the sound of flowing water in a nearby fountain, and yet another by the feeling of the sunshine on her face and the gentle breeze on her skin. A child may be running with abandon, spinning in circles until he falls, laughing. Another person may be observing the entire scene as a whole and noticing the discarded food wrapper on the ground near, but not in, the trash can. Another could be focused not on her own experience, but at that of her child who is observing every detail of her rose. Over time, that pure essence of self is shaped, molded, and at times whittled away by life. We learn to adapt our behaviors to the expectations of others. We give up activities we love to focus on things society or our parents or our peer group value more. The teen who loves to sing drops music to take advanced math because it is better for his future. A young adult who lived for sport sits in a chair all day to earn the money to buy her first home. Piece by piece, as we make choices and take on responsibilities and gain things and stuff, we can lose touch with those parts of ourselves that feel the sparks of joy that once lit us up. We become the person who focuses on the trash on the sidewalk and not the one feeling the sunshine on her face. We wake up one day and wonder, is this all there is? What happened?
That's good.
So that brings me to the sparks that light us up.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. I feel all of that.
Yeah, and so one of the things that I always do when I work with people and when I work with groups is guided meditation and journaling
Mm-hmm.
prompts where we go into discovering or rediscovering what were those things that lit you up when you were younger that made you feel alive.
Yeah.
These aren't things that cost money. These aren't things you have to travel for. These are those simple pleasures of moving your body, of feeling the sunshine on your skin, of singing in the shower. Everybody's got different things that make
Right.
them really happy. And when we can work those things into our day proactively, we as adults, a lot of people hit a point where they don't even remember these anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going through the motions in this pattern of life
Mm-hmm.
that they're stuck in. And that's when we get burned out.
Yeah.
People who get burned out stop feeling and they start resenting the things they're doing. They start feeling like they're in a trap
Mm-hmm.
of I do everything for everyone and I don't get anything back. And
Right.
they get numb to the joy. They get numb to the beauty of what's around them and they don't appreciate what they've created because they've lost the ability to feel the joy in those simple pleasures.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we do is we rediscover, we work on finding those sparks, and then we build around that proactively making a point of getting those things. If you don't get it at work, get it at home. If you love the sunshine on your face, get out for a walk in the morning.
Yeah.
Or take a break at lunchtime instead of going to some restaurant and sitting down or sitting down at your desk with a sandwich. Go outside and move your
Hmm.
body.
Yeah.
Take your
Yeah.
sandwich outside with you. You
Right.
know, so just doing things like that can sometimes sort of it acts like fuel that helps keep your day going in a way where you can feel when you connect that, when you keep feeling those sparks and you make a point of it, you
Hmm.
stay present.
Hmm.
And when you're present, you get in the flow state, you get work done. We suffer so much from distraction now.
Yeah. It's so easy.
It is. And, it's very, very easy to be sucked into having your phone in your face and having every notification pulls you away.
Hmm.
And years and years ago, when I was on the brink of being very burned out,
Yeah. I want to get into that.
I bought a time management course.
Yes, I want to get
And
into this because I find this a
yeah,
very good, relatable where you thought the problem was. So yeah.
right. So I was in this place, I was really burned out. I hated being a lawyer.
Mm,
I felt like I was really involved in community activities, and I had reached a point where I was like, I'm doing all this work that helps other people and doesn't help me, and I'm not getting anything back from it. But here I am spending all this time, and I just felt
hmm.
like a robot, like waking up in the morning, going to work, doing the work, getting, nothing done for the whole day. Then I'd leave and I'd do these volunteer things, and I felt like it was just like I was in Groundhog Day.
Hmm.
And I wasn't getting things done. And it was very frustrating because I was like, what is wrong with me? I questioned whether maybe I had adult ADHD. Like there
Hmm.
were all kinds of things going through my mind. And, I wasn't, I'd work, but I wasn't getting, things were spinning. They weren't getting done.
Right.
And so I bought a time management course because I thought I needed help organizing.
Right. I think that's completely natural. Like a lot of us do. Like I've thought that too. I'm like, oh my God, I really need to get my time management skills like fine-tuned because I'm really bad at it. So yeah,
Yeah,
I
and
totally get
but
that.
you think about it, like I had gotten to the point where at this point I was in my, mid 40s. I had not just made it through law school, but survived, 20 years of being a lawyer. I had my own practice. I had had my own practice for years and supported myself and been successful in that practice. So I was like, I mean, obviously it's not that I'm not capable of
Hmm.
managing time, yet I was in this place and it didn't click with me at the time. I learned some things. It helped. The time management course somewhat influences what you see in the art of bending time.
Hmm.
But then I realized there's a whole other level that goes way beyond this. And that part of it I learned because I had a health issue. I had an autoimmune disease diagnosis about 10 years ago.
Hmm.
And in response to that, I became a certified health coach. I went to the school to learn for myself.
Yeah.
And what I learned was life changing. And some of it was as basic as it can be.
Hmm.
It really does matter if you get enough sleep and
Oh,
if you're hydrated enough
yeah.
and if you're just eating
Simple.
reasonably well and moving your body. You don't have
Yeah.
to be a gym rat. You don't have to be on keto or vegan or like really dedicated to some particular food.
Right.
But eat the rainbow, get a variety of nutrition from different real food sources
Hmm.
and drink enough water. I think to some degree this is a generational thing, but it's not for everybody. Um, you know, I don't think water passed my lips for about 20 years.
Oh no, we didn't grow up like it is
You
now,
know,
you know?
I drank coffee in the morning and Diet Coke in the afternoon and wine after I got home from work for
Right?
I don't even know how long. And and that's not real good. It doesn't help your body very much.
No, no, it definitely doesn't. So yeah, getting to the basics is always a good place to start.
Yeah, and it can really help with your focus and with
Hmm.
how your body feels. And if your
Yeah.
body feels even just antsy and not comfortable, you're you're not going to be as focused. And when you're
Yeah.
not focused, you don't get as much done.
Yeah.
So there's a goal in a way from those health practices of being able to get in and maintain a flow state so
Yes.
that you can get more done in the time that you're spending working. And when you do that, you're gaining time
Hmm.
so that you can still have lots of fun in your life and do other things and enjoy the wealth of the world that is out there that
Yeah.
isn't just inside your office.
Right. Right. It really is like narrowing down your focus so you can actually give it the attention
So
that
that
it needs.
production work gets done,
Yeah.
like done and
Yeah.
focused. And so, you're not making mistakes. If you don't make a mistake, you don't have to go back and fix it. Like there's all kinds of ways you're saving time by being focused.
Hmm. So when you were going through this burnout phase and you're becoming aware of it and you're starting to make changes, how did you find your sparks of joy? Like what were some of yours that you were able to integrate into your day?
I have some things that are for sure like absolutes that I have to have, and I've realized this. I can't be away from water.
Okay, I get that.
I lived in the Midwest in my teen years and into my early 20s. Right after college, I left and I didn't go back.
Hmm.
As a kid, I lived in Connecticut. My grandparents had a house in the mountains I'd say mountains, not really in the mountains, but in upstate New York in an area where it was lots of lakes, and we had a place on a lake. And then when I was a little bit, very tiny bit older, my grandparents bought a house on Cape Cod, and we spent every
Oh,
weekend
love Cape
on,
Cod.
by the like at first near the water and then on the water
Nice.
at Cape Cod. And to me, like having access to being around water is like life itself.
Hmm.
Living amidst the cornfields in the Midwest was not a place that my soul liked very much.
Yeah.
I love having a walk every morning, and I get out in the morning, I take my dog, I get a cup of coffee, we go for a walk along the water. I see the sparkling of the light on the water
Ah.
and feel that feeling of the air, and I need that.
Hmm.
And, I used to be a runner. I've destroyed my knees running and I don't do that anymore, but I still need to move my body. I'm very physical.
Hmm.
If I don't do that, I notice.
Right. Yeah.
I various things. I like to create art. And trust me, I have no skills in art because part of what I was writing in that part of my book is I gave up art to take the advanced classes.
Right.
And so I didn't get the training that you would get past like eighth grade.
Hmm.
But I do still enjoy it. So I like
Yeah.
to create things, and I
That's
like to create things that I can see and feel when I'm done with it. Like,
yeah.
that was a piece of, frankly, being a lawyer. That was a part of it that I realized really was soul sucking for me, was that when you're a lawyer, you work and work and work on something that, first of all, you can't see, feel, touch what you're creating.
Right.
You write a brief or whatever, but now you don't even feel it. You just upload it, right?
Right.
You don't even
Right.
have a piece of paper that you're looking at going, "Ooh, I did this." Now you have, now you upload it into the internet and it goes away.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and when you get a result, it's often months after. And that time delay and all that, it was just, that was frustrating.
I'm
Um,
sure.
and you don't get as much. There are certain kinds of law where you get a lot of interaction with people. There are other kinds where you
Hmm.
don't. And frankly, I ended up in one where I didn't have as much interaction with people as
Yeah.
I needed.
Yeah.
So, that's another piece for me is connection, and everybody needs connection.
Yeah, it's very essential.
So, how do you get that? And how do you make that work together in your life?
Mm-hmm.
So, another piece of what I call bending time is understanding that we are whole people with whole lives. So, the idea of quote unquote work-life balance. If we are trying to put ourselves in a work box over here and a life box over here, and maybe there's a box for the people at church and a box for the people in whatever group you're in, and you're not connecting the dots between those things, you're never getting the full benefit of the connections that may be there to help you move in a through line
Mm-hmm.
with all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
You might not realize that the person at church is someone you could be collaborating with in
Right.
your work life.
Right.
And your biggest opportunity might be sitting right next to you at church. And because you don't talk about your career at church, you never even know.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, a lot of missed opportunities.
Yeah. And, that's another way that we can sort of make that container bigger is
Right.
by crossing those lines and connecting the dots so that you do have those opportunities.
Yeah.
And you do get the benefit of the knowledge of maybe somebody who's already done what you want to do, and they have advice about what they did wrong, and they would have changed this, or they would have started it this way, not that way.
Yeah. And again, it goes back to just, really being there and being present and not sitting there going through your to-do list and like,
Hmm.
okay, as soon as I get out of here, I got to go here, here, and here. It's actually being there in that moment and not, fast
Exactly.
forwarding your day.
And being curious, being with that person that's
Mm-hmm.
sitting next to you and asking them about themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when you don't do that, how will you know?
Exactly. Yeah, it's so true.
And same with the person at work. Maybe somebody at work has a shared interest in something that you is a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
And you never would have known that if you didn't talk about your personal life
Right.
with somebody at the office.
And all it really takes is just like getting up and just asking somebody a question. It can be as simple as that, as opposed to
Right.
just sitting there and trudging through your work and feeling unmotivated and miserable. Be like, I think every now and then you need to take a time out and be like, okay, let me just do something for myself, even if it's 5 minutes. And it could just be having a quick conversation with somebody who's nearby.
Right. And one thing I see that I think is really sad, I love the concept of being able to work remotely and having the freedom to be at home when you need to be at home for somebody, or
Mm-hmm.
not have to commute when the commute is hell where you live. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I live in Miami. You couldn't pay me enough to commute. And that was true when I started my own law practice. I got an office walkable like 3 blocks away because I was like, there's no way I'm going to commute anymore. I don't have
Right.
to.
Right.
But when you don't have a place you go where you physically interact with the people you work with, it's really hard to develop those kind of relationships.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So, it really does become just transactional. You have a meeting on Zoom and you talk about the issue on the agenda and then everybody disperses.
Mm-hmm.
And, companies are so concerned about retention of employees, but how do you retain employees when they feel no personal connection to you?
Right. Yeah. That's a good point.
So that is another piece of it that, I strongly recommend people really make that effort. And one of the things I see is there's a little resistance in this, like managers don't feel comfortable getting quote unquote personal with their employees because they see it as some sort of breach, right? They're interfering or whatever. But when you get to know somebody on a human level is when there is retention because they know you care about them.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's not just about what can you get from me now?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. There's more value to you, and yeah, you want to be able
Yeah,
to make that connection. It's really essential for sure.
exactly.
So when you work with clients, you have a framework. Can you kind of walk us through how that looks?
Yeah, so it kind of depends on, am I working with a corporate client in a workshop, or am I working with a customer who's more of a regular person who wants coaching?
Mm-hmm.
But the general concept of it is that we have a different things that we deal with. The first thing is what I call a busyness detox.
I like that.
And the busyness detox involves finding those sparks. That's the crucial, important thing for everybody is to get to that.
Right.
If you get nothing else out of the program, that will give you magic.
Yeah, I believe it.
So, that's where we start. Then I generally, especially if I'm working with individuals, not as much in a corporate sense, except to gloss it over, but
Hmm.
I point out the importance of the health issue. You know, in a personal one-on-one kind of coaching context, we would actually go through food journaling and we would look at your activities. How do you kind of have, what's your day look like? Where are you getting movement? Are you sleeping, etc.
Yeah.
Then I get into something I call internal time sucks and figuring out what those are.
Hmm.
So all of us have these things we do to self-soothe, to avoid things that are hard, to avoid that hard conversation,
Yeah.
or just even that part of your job you hate. Like, for me as a lawyer, it was billing. I hated billing. And it just, I'd put it off because it was just so, I hated doing it.
Yeah.
So, you would do these things, and what do you do to avoid that? So we figure out what those habits are. And when you know what they are, you can do something about it. Most people don't even know that they're doing these things.
Yeah.
So they slip into some sort of a habit. Maybe it's jumping into your email and the next thing you're looking at dresses from Macy's.
Yeah.
Or maybe you do something like you walk into the kitchen and the next thing you know, you're spending half an hour cleaning your kitchen
Yeah.
when
Oh, yeah.
you could be doing the thing you need to be doing.
Yeah.
So we figure out what that is. And then at a higher level, we work on strengthening and fixing these things. So one of the things we do, we go on into more about what I call time sucks, which
Hmm.
are what I call external time sucks, things that are not innate to you, but because of your environment, because of your team, whatever it is, your demands on you, these are things that also take from the time that you need to be spending doing the things you need to do.
Hmm.
So it could be environmental. For instance, I have a western facing window in my home office. The sun would come in and glare in my face at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was so bad that I couldn't sit at my computer working.
Hmm.
And when I bought my apartment, it came with these kind of flimsy, gauzy looking curtains that did nothing to protect from that light.
Hmm.
And so ultimately, I invested a whole lot of money on blinds that are really good blinds that I can use to protect from that light that still let in a little light. And,
Hmm.
they're motorized, and because it was also hard to get to that window. So like with a regular
Oh.
blind, I couldn't just open and close it.
Oh, interesting.
So, I finally just bit the bullet and did that because I was like, I can't sit here and work. And what did that mean? It meant I was taking my laptop into my den
Hmm.
where I had to sit on a couch and work. And there was a TV remote right there and a TV.
Yeah. You just like
And so
set yourself
sometimes
up.
I'd end up watching Netflix instead of working on my computer.
Right. Yeah.
And, that would be my avoidance, but it would also be because my environment put me into that place where that was really easy.
Yeah.
And, that could be for different people. It's all kinds of different
Right.
things.
No, 100%. I get
And
that.
it can be the boss who has bad time management skills, who drops things on your desk at 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon and says, I need this by Monday.
Right.
How do you deal with that?
Yeah.
And there are ways you can deal with that. There are ways that you can, proactively, like, offer to set up a meeting with that boss on Wednesday, for instance, and say, hey, you know what? I've noticed this happens a lot. How
Hmm.
how can we work together so that I can help you before it gets to that?
Yeah.
But some people are just they're not comfortable having that conversation, but it's necessary.
Yeah. If it's necessary, then I think it's very important to do that.
Yeah. So, that's some examples of that. then you get into creating habit loops. The habit loops are like I said, you have things you do that like self-soothe.
Mm-hmm.
We now know there's neuroscience behind the fact that you can replace those habits with productive habits or with habits that take less time. So let's use an example of, you know, you feel stressed out, you go into the kitchen, end up spending 45 minutes cleaning out your fridge instead of doing what you need to do.
Yeah, I've done that.
Um, so and you justify it. You tell yourself you're doing something productive, right? Because you just cleaned your fridge. But
Yes, it's
but
productivity avoidance because you
exactly.
are still being productive, but you're avoiding the thing.
Exactly. So there's a feeling that comes up that triggers you doing that. Whatever that is, there's some emotion, there's some feeling, and you have it. Once you recognize that and you know what
Mm.
it is, you know that the next thing you're going to do is come up with that productivity avoidance project. And the next thing that's going to come up is you're probably going to reward yourself. The reward is going to be seeing that clean fridge, for instance. So
Hmm.
you feel good about seeing the clean fridge.
Oh yeah,
And that makes
totally.
you justify the fact that you didn't do what you needed to do and you feel good about it. So
Yep.
the next time you have that feeling, you do the same thing,
Right,
right?
right, right, right.
The whole time you've deluded yourself into thinking you're doing something productive and good,
Yeah,
when in fact it doesn't matter if your fridge is clean or not. But I mean, it
truth.
does if it's a cesspool, but it's probably
Right,
not.
right, right.
So what you want to do is you identify that so that you know that when you have that feeling, what's something you can do that's productive, that gives you that sense of something that makes you feel a little better,
Hmm.
but it doesn't take 45 minutes and it moves
Right.
you toward the progress that you need.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
maybe it's framing the project you need in a way that you can see progress. Because for a lot of us, when we start a big project, let's say, I'm writing this book. A whole book is really overwhelming. The
That's
whole the
yeah,
concept, right, of writing a
yeah.
whole book. But what I just read to you, I wrote in the half hour before I got on the phone with you today.
Oh wow. Well
So,
done.
how, you know, how did I do that? I broke the piece into it where, okay, I'm going to write something that gets me to this thing about the sparks that light us up and whatever. And I'm going to do it. And I'm just going to start writing at this time.
Mm-hmm.
And it might not be what I ultimately use in the end. I think, frankly, that piece might be because I love it. But,
It is good.
my point is you write something, you see something, you got something done. You can actually see you finished something. And
Yeah.
that wasn't like a 5 hour commitment or a 10 hour or a 50 hour commitment. That was a half hour, 45-minute commitment.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we tend to like build things up in our imagination. We
Right. But we can say, hey, you know what? Like, I'm going to do this piece of it and I'm going to feel good about just doing that tiny piece.
mm-hmm. And it does feel good.
And then you see what you did. And like the fridge, now you have a completed project, which for you feels good. And now you've learned that when you take action, you get a reward.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just like you feel like you're like when I was in doing my law stuff and I felt like I just spent hours and hours and days working on something where I didn't get anything done.
Yeah.
If
It's
I had seen it
interesting.
differently, if I had gone, I'm going to just outline this one piece of the brief, or I'm just, it felt more like I was getting something done when I looked at it that way.
And it didn't take a lot of time.
Right.
You gave yourself like a window,
Yes,
and you just focused in that time. That's how
exactly.
you kind of get your time back.
Yes. And it's how you allow yourself focus. You allow yourself to have that flow state time. It doesn't have to
Mm-hmm.
be for days or hours, it could be for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But you allow yourself to have that, and during that time, you don't do something else.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really just giving yourself permission to just be like, okay, this is where my focus is going to be, and it's okay, and I'm not
Right.
going to feel bad about it, and it's
And
actually a
then when
good
you
thing.
you get that habit loop created so that when you feel that feeling, oh, I don't want to start this. It's going to take too long. I'm not going to get anything done. You go, okay, I'm going to give myself the tiny piece
Yep.
that I can see a result at the end. And then
Yeah.
you do that.
Yeah. It's like really that simple.
Yeah. And so I get people into that kind of practice, that's kind of habit building. We go into mindset, we go into positive versus negative and growth versus fixed mindset. A lot of people who get off the rails and end up burned out are also people who have a fixed mindset because they are raised to believe you're so smart, you're so good at X, you're so good at Y, and then they hit a wall, and instead of going, oh, this is a cool challenge, I'll do this. How do I get around the wall? They hit the wall and they go, oh, I must not be as smart as I thought I was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's a shame because that's usually the first thought, like, oh, I'm not good enough,
Exactly.
or I can't do this.
And it's tragic. And so that is something you can work on. And so we go through that a little bit. And then we get into the real ninja stuff. And I think this is what you're talking about with the framework.
Hmm.
I have an analysis I call the sword analysis.
Hmm.
So we wait until we have those basics down and like nailed down, and then we go into what are three really big life goals, like 3 to 5 to 10 year goals. And we analyze those in what I call a SWOT analysis. So we look at the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and risks related to the goal. What strengths would be, what do you already have? Do you have the talent? Do you have the skill? Do you have the education? Do you have the real estate? Do you have the whatever that is that you have to
Hmm.
have for that goal? And then the weaknesses are the things you need, like the gap. Do you need to get a degree? Do you need to get licensed for something? Do you need to, buy a property if your goal is to have income properties?
Hmm.
Whatever that might be. The opportunities are what are you going to get from this? Let's assume you complete this goal, and in the end, you're looking at who am I now? What do I have? What's my life like? What has this brought for me?
Okay. Is that more of like what you wish to see or
Realistically, think about it realistically. What do you don't want to be delusional about it. You want to be like, if I own let's use owning rental property. This is your goal. You and your spouse want to start buying properties, making that asset class as part of your investments so that you'll have an income stream from it, and over time you'll have those assets to sell off as you retire, however you want to do that.
hmm.
So what are the opportunities? Well, obviously you'll have the assets. You'll have something you can leave to your children one day, possibly. You'll have an income stream. What are the risks of it? Being a
Hmm.
landlord isn't always great.
Right.
You have
Right.
people calling you in the middle of the night because the dishwasher broke,
Yeah.
or there's water all over the floor, or the power
Hmm.
went out, or whatever that might be. You may have to you deal with increasing expenses. Where I live here in Miami, even though you may even own the property outright, taxes have gone up a lot. We're dealing with an insurance situation where it's just shocking how much
Yeah,
insurance costs have
I'm
gone up. If
sure.
it's a condominium, the condo expenses have gone up. Like, you may find yourself where you own the property, but it actually costs more than you can charge in rent.
Yeah.
So again, like, what are the risks? Those are risks.
Hmm.
And then I ask people in a very quick way, now that you've analyzed all of that, 0 to 10, how much do you want it? And I wait.
And they think.
And and sometimes, if it's a really big desired goal that's aligned, people are like, a 10. I want this. That's why it's
Yeah.
one of my big goals. But you'd be surprised how many people sometimes are like, oh wow, like a 6. They
Mm.
rarely say it's less than a five. I think like people don't want to admit that they came to me with a life goal and it's less than a
And
five.
they're like, oops.
But what happens is people realize through that analysis that maybe it's not really what I want.
Yeah,
Maybe it's something that I carried around with me for years because it was my dream when I was 12. Maybe
right.
it's something my parents always expected of me. Or it's sort of like the path that people in my career normally take. And so I want it because I'm
Yeah.
supposed to want it. But when they look at it, they're like, I don't know. Maybe I don't
Yeah.
really want that. You know,
Yeah. It's a
one
good
of the
reality
happiest
check.
lawyers I know is a woman who works for a company that is, they provide lawyers on contract to big firms to work on big cases when they have a need.
Hmm.
And she gets these long-term contracts. She works on something for like, however many months the contract is for. And she leaves and does something else. And sometimes she takes time off in between. And she doesn't make as much money as if she worked in a law firm. And she just stepped out of the law firm path years ago because she was just like, she looked at partnership and went, this isn't what I want.
Yeah.
I want to be able to travel in Europe for 3 months. Now she can travel in Europe for 3 months and then go back and do another contract.
That's great.
And, so that kind of thing, like when you look at who am I really? What do I really want in my life?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people also get deterred because they just don't think it's possible for them or they don't think the opportunity is out there when it's becoming more and more you can create your own opportunities.
Yes.
You just have to really believe that you have the ability, you have everything that you need. It's all in here. It's just a matter of you pulling it out and being brave enough and,
Yeah,
really taking that step forward.
exactly. And being true to who you are.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for one person, being a digital nomad and traveling all over Asia by
It's amazing.
themselves is a dream, right? That's
Yeah.
awesome. And it's so exciting and they love their life. And for someone else, frankly, they may be really like so tied to their family and they love their family and that's their highest value. For
Hmm.
that person, why would they take off and accept that their peer group thinks it's cool to be a digital nomad,
Right.
right? So it really depends. Like who are you in your heart?
Yeah. Yeah, and you're capable. You're capable of letting that out and
Right.
following it and doing something about it, at least trying and experimenting, because you
Exactly.
never ever know what is going to happen. What is one random conversation you might have about it? It could take you just so far that you just never even imagined. So it's
And
like just,
again, that's the connecting the dots that's why that matters so much.
yeah.
So I have people take that plan and there's two more things we do with it and we use the plan. We use the framework of the SWOT analysis for the big goals. And then we connect dots. If it's a work goal, I have people talk to people in their personal lives about it. If it's a personal goal, I have them talk to people at work about it.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
And I have them do that because they probably haven't opened up that part of themselves in that other box.
Yeah.
And when they do, they often can find knowledge, mentorship, other connections that they wouldn't have known they had.
Hmm.
If you've already talked about it to someone, you know what connections are there for you. But what if you take that idea that you've always wanted to become a private pilot, for instance, and you go to the office with it and you ask people at work, I've always wanted to do this. I don't really know a lot about it. Do you know anybody?
Hmm.
And they tell you their uncle has a private pilot's
Right.
license or their cousin does.
Yeah, you
And they
never know.
introduce you to that person. And you would have known if you
Yeah.
hadn't opened your mouth and asked.
Yeah, there's so much more at play here that we just don't even understand. It's like right here. It's like
Right.
right here, and we
So that's
just
again,
don't.
you're expanding that container, right?
Yeah.
And when you do that, you're doing it through connections to other people. You're doing it through using somebody else's knowledge that now you've been connected. They tell you, they give you advice,
Yeah.
and now you've shortened the path from 5 years to 3 years.
Yeah. And you're starting to build momentum, which is
Exactly.
huge.
Exactly. And you
Yeah.
do the same thing with planning your growth. You talk to those mentors, you learn what you need to do, you
Hmm.
learn a path of how to do it, and then you can plan for it, and then it's real. It's not a dream anymore from
Yeah.
when you were 12 years old. It's reality
Right. And
because
then
now
you're
you're
like,
actually
oh,
doing it.
you're like, oh my God, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And that is a massive spark, like
And
that's if you
that is
look.
the art of ending time.
I love it. I love it. That is such a great, I love it top to bottom how you just work with people and that
Hmm.
finishing piece to just really open it up and start introducing it to the world is just like a great way to just wrap everything up.
Yeah.
Love that. I love that. So I want to ask you one more question before I let you go. With everything you've given us, and maybe you haven't even given us this piece yet, what is like your best piece of advice you can give to a woman who is looking to age fiercely?
Reconnect with those sparks that light you up.
Yeah, I love that.
Take that action.
Don't,
Don't don't be that person who's like, I have a friend who in a little mini vacation with some people turned to me and the other person in the room and said, "Old people like us." I was like, "What are you talking about?" And I mean, I think that for some people it's almost like they give up.
they own it
And there's so much you can do
so
at any
much.
age.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
And, I mean, I remember and I had a beautiful role model in this. My grandmother was amazing, and she lived until she was, I think, 92,
Nice.
um, almost 93. And after my grandfather died about 5 years before she did, and she started a whole new life. Like everybody was worried about her. We had no reason to be worried about her. She
All
was like,
right.
she had this girl gang of women in this
Amazing.
home. She lived in a place that was like a 55 and older condo community in northern New Jersey. And, you know, they took trips to go to concerts together.
Ah,
They
check that
went, I
out.
mean, it was like, and she had some younger friends and they were not that much younger, but they were like maybe 10 years younger than her.
Right.
And, they went to upstate New York together to see the Leaves, and they went to a concert in Philadelphia, and she invited them all to the house at Cape Cod,
Amazing.
they did that. And I mean, she was in her late 80s, early 90s at that point.
That's fantastic. Like, really, just
So
don't limit yourself.
yeah, and I mean, there's always ways that we can get those sparks that light us up.
Yeah, I love that. That's so wonderful. Thank you for everything that you have shared here. So many good gems
Oh, you're
throughout this
welcome.
conversation. I really enjoyed it.
You're welcome. And I just want to offer something for your audience.
Hmm.
If they would like to use the guided meditation and journaling prompts that I
Oh,
use with people,
yes.
I have a way for them to access that for free. It's
Okay.
a community sign up, and they just have to text the word clarity to 33777, and it has a little sign up. It'll ask for your name and your email and send you a link, and
Mhm.
you can get in and download those things so you can have access to it.
Yeah, I would love that. I'll put that in the show notes for sure. Because yeah, that having that little meditation can be
Yeah.
just like the exact thing that you need on a certain day. So yeah, I will definitely
It's
link to that.
great, and it helps people remember those things that give them excitement, give them joy, that make them proud, that you know keep, keep us alive.
Yeah, like go after those things. Like really,
Yeah,
with your heart, go after those things. Let yourself do that. Like let that be
exactly.
the
And they're
thing.
not big things. These aren't like go
Right?
after the big goal. These are like go outside and feel the sun on your face,
Yes. Yes.
right? And anybody can do these things, and it helps kind of take us out of that place where we feel like we're stuck in a rut.
Yeah. Yeah. Just these little things. I couldn't
Hmm.
agree more. Thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate it.
Well, thanks for the opportunity to share.